Quentin Tarantino, the man, the myth, the legend, the guy with sort of a foot fetish and a real lust for blood. I'm James from Red Cape Reviews. Today we're going to be ranking all of the Tarantino films from best to worst. So to prepare for this, I rewatched all of Tarantino films. Now, spoiler alert, I am a fanboy. I've pretty much loved everything that he's ever done, and it was really hard to kind of number them 1 through 10, but I've managed to do it. Few directors have actually defined like a genre of cinema. There's just something so distinctly different about Tarantino's films. They feel like event films. Tarantino himself feels like a movie star. Back in the day when you see, have you seen the new Schwarzenegger film? Have you seen the new Tom Cruise film? We don't really say that. There's no real movie stars anymore. But still, when Tarantino drops a new film, people will say that. Have you seen the new Tarantino film? And it's a talking point. He's still really relevant. And I think it's because he takes sort of like a quality over quantity approach. So, as I said, it's really hard to do, but we're going to rank them and we're going to see which one's best and which one doesn't really stand the test of time. And trust me, I was shocked by the result, because what I thought was my favourite actually isn't my favourite. Now, we're only looking at the films that Tarantino has directed. So like True Romance, he only wrote that, so that one's not counted. He's directed 10 films. Hi, Future James here, just doing some editing. So, this is an interesting point. So I just said 10 films. I know that in the law, and Tarantino himself says that he's directed 9 films. The trailer for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I mean, he said it loads of times, but even in the trailer it says the 9th film from Quentin Tarantino, so I know that. I was having a good debate with a friend of mine about whether it was 9 or 10 films. So to me it's 10 for purposes of this video, because Death Proof is a Quentin Tarantino film. He wrote, he directed it, but I do know that Tarantino himself technically says that he's done 9 films. I think it's because he wants the 10th and final film, and that's a nice round number, but technically his 10th and final film will be his 11th. You could even go back and say he did like a film before Reservoir Dogs and yada yada yada. But for this video, it's 10. And that's it. Back to the video. And they're the 10 that we're going to look at today. In at number 10 is Kill Bill Volume 2. Now, I love Kill Bill as a complete set, and if it was classed as one film, then it would have ranked higher. But Kill Bill Volume 2, it's just the one that, on rewatching, I didn't connect. I felt like it was dragging a little bit. I know that's controversial, but hear me out. So whereas Volume 1 is a bit more bam, 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 Volume 2 kind of dives into the backstory, especially the Bill and the bride backstory, dives into that a lot more. More into characters, more into the philosophy, but at times it can feel like a drag. I think the worst thing about Volume 2 is that it's not Volume 1. And that's difficult. I appreciate it could never be Volume 1. But for me, comparing the two, it's the one that I just don't connect with as much. That said, the Pai Mei scenes are great. Gold. David Carradine is fantastic in the film, and he really gets used in Volume 2, obviously, a lot more. And it's great to see him. Some great scenes between him and the bride, Uma Thurman, but unfortunately just doesn't hit the mark for me. At times it felt a little uneven. It's calmer, wiser, quieter, but overall just not as exciting. In at number 9 is Death Proof from 2007. Now, Death Proof got done a little dirty. It was always intended as a double feature, which was called Grindhouse. So his filmmaker friend Robert Rodriguez and him both envisaged like a throwback to the old double features of yesteryear. So they would both make a film, a 90-minute film, and then they would present it as one night at the cinema, one film essentially. And it was released, I believe, in the US as that. It even had fake trailers in the middle, but it didn't land as well. I think audiences were either confused or just not expecting or not willing really to kind of sit through 2 full films, which is crazy because when you think about it now, Avatar, Lord of the Rings, most of these epic films, they're 3 hours long, so something didn't connect. So Death Proof was Tarantino's film and Planet Terror was Robert Rodriguez's film. If I'm honest, I sort of prefer Planet Terror. In the UK, because I think it didn't do well in America, they then decided to release them 2 separately, which I think if you're looking at it on its own merit, you kind of think, well, this is a film that Tarantino's done, but it was never meant to be seen that way. It was meant to be seen as Grindhouse, which was 2 feature films together. So it kind of got done dirty. It's got some great stuff. Kurt Russell is fantastic in it, but even Tarantino said it's probably not his best film. But the final chase scene is phenomenal. So is it fun? Yeah. Is it an all-time great? No. And that's why it's in at number 9. Number 8, The Hateful Eight. Now, I've really not put this at number 8 because it's called The Hateful Eight. You have to believe me on that. Set almost entirely in a snowy cabin, it's sort of staged more like a play than a western, but it's a western at heart. The performances are solid, especially Samuel L. Jackson and Jennifer Jason Leigh, and the soundtrack is absolutely fantastic. I think Tarantino literally got Ennio Morricone to actually come out of retirement for this. The soundtrack, and I think it was filmed on 70mm, which is just a huge wider format. And some of those kind of scenes where they're going across the vista, they are phenomenal. But overall, it's a good film. There's some good dialogue. There's loads of good pieces in the film. But it just, maybe it didn't hit me on second rewatch as much as it did when I saw it in cinemas. I think it's because it's a slow burn and then kind of a slow drag. Like, there isn't a huge kind of payoff at the end. Some loved the mystery and the tension, but some people just felt like it was a little bit stilted just being all in that cabin pretty much. It was ambitious, no doubt, but I don't think it was quintessentially Tarantino. In at number 7 is Jackie Brown. Jackie Brown was released in 1997, and I think personally it's one of Tarantino's, if not the most underrated film of his. The script is adapted from a novel by Elmore Leonard called Rum Punch. So every other film on this list Tarantino has written and directed like it's his true voice, whereas this one was adapted from a novel. Pam Grier is iconic. Robert Forster is brings that quiet kind of gravitas. He's brilliant in the film, and Michael Keaton's fantastic as well. And the vibe is pure kind of 1970s soul. Tarantino's always had a great ear for his soundtracks, and this one's no different. The music in this film is absolutely phenomenal, and particularly the opening use of Bobby Womack's Across 110th Street. That's just a great song, and I've listened to that so many times when I've been on public transport, kind of imagining himself in a film, which is something I shouldn't admit, but there you go. It doesn't have the same explosive energy as some of his other work, but Jackie Brown does prove that Tarantino can tell more of a subtle kind of story. He just usually doesn't want to. Now, this might be a controversial one. In at number 6, Reservoir Dogs. This was the debut that changed everything. This film had a microscopic budget, but introduced the world to Tarantino's signature, non-linear storytelling, razor-sharp dialogue, and sudden, shocking violence. It's raw, it's tight, it's unforgettable. Mr. Blonde, that warehouse scene stuck in the middle with you, it's all iconic. Now, Tarantino might have gotten slicker over the years. You can definitely tell this is his first film, but it's still a classic. It just didn't hit for me in the same way that some of his others have. Number 5, Django Unchained. Tarantino tackles slavery, revenge, and Western tropes in only a way that he could. Jamie Foxx is a true badass in this film. Christoph Waltz, again, because he's in Inglourious Basterds, but he's incredible in this film. And Leonardo DiCaprio as Calvin Candy, one of his best roles ever. That blood-soaked finale is fantastic. No one does a third act like Tarantino, but up until that point, there is moments where it does drag, and the tone's a little bit uneven, but still, this is a bold, brutal, and kind of audacious film. In at number 4 is his most recent film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
This film really is like a hangout film, a nostalgic, sun-drenched dream of a faded Hollywood era. Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio give career-best performances, and Margot Robbie's Sharon Tate is a really touching tribute, not just a plot device. The set design is so meticulous and detailed, and in a world of CGI franchise films, it's really refreshing to see sets, actual sets, and really rich visuals. The dialogue, as always, is spot on, and it's just a really interesting story. Again, Tarantino has a way of making what is kind of part Western, part 60s drama and at times comedy, and making it interesting and engaging to modern audiences. And the ending? An on-brand, violent, hilarious fantasy that somehow feels earned. This is a love letter to a bygone industry, and perhaps to Tarantino's own legacy. Getting into the top 3 now, and at number 3, Pulp Fiction from 1994. Now, I'm really splitting hairs between the top 3, and again, it's only personal choice. There's no doubt that Pulp Fiction really is one of the most important films of the last 50 years. Everything here clicks. The cast, the structure, the dialogue. It made indie cool. Tarantino took that non-linear storytelling from Reservoir Dogs and really mastered it here. It redefined what movies could be and cemented Tarantino as a household name. John Travolta is perfect in the film, and it's crazy to think that the studio didn't want him, and he wasn't even Tarantino's first choice. The late great Michael Madsen was. Uma Thurman as Mia Wallace, making herself Tarantino's muse, and a really great supporting cast. Everything from the dance scene to the briefcase to the Royale with cheese, Pulp Fiction kind of is the ultimate Tarantino experience.
In at number 2, and narrowly missing out on the top spot, Inglourious Bastards. Now, this film opens with one of the most tense films I've ever seen in a cinema. It's 20 minutes of an interrogation, and the real star of the show is Christoph Waltz as Hans Landa. He is phenomenal in this film. I genuinely think, I know we're talking about Tarantino here, but I think if Christoph Waltz wasn't so good as that Hans Landa character, I don't think that this necessarily would rank as high for me. He really makes this film. This is Tarantino's boldest rewrite of history. Brutal, funny, and completely unpredictable. Now, I like to try and keep my finger on the pulse in terms of movie news, and I hear about my fair share of spoilers. I had no idea what was going to happen in the end of the film. Truly shocking. Some say that the bastards themselves are underused, but who cares when every scene crackles like this? I feel like Inglourious Bastards is the one that I keep going back to, and I think that's why it ranks so highly on my list. I've put it at number 2 because I've probably seen it 5 or 6 times, but there's just so many good parts to it. Obviously, there's the opening scene. There's the scene in the bar with Michael Fassbender. That's phenomenal. And then, like I say, there's the ending, which is unmatched. And in at number 1, it's Kill Bill, Volume 1. This is Tarantino truly unchained. It's slick, it's a bloody love letter to samurai flicks, anime, and spaghetti westerns. Uma Thurman is electric as the bride, and the Crazy 88 fight scene, still one of the greatest action sequences of the 2000s. Is it deep? Not really, but it's so stylish, so confident, and just reeks of cool. Now, fun note, I saw this in the cinema with my mum and my auntie, and 99% of that film is absolutely fine as an 18-year-old boy to go and see with his mum, except for the scene with the Vaseline, and those that have seen it know exactly what I'm talking about. I just feel like every scene is iconic in that film. You've got the opening with the bride, bloodied, and the subsequent shot to the head. You've then got the fight with Vivica A. Fox. You've got the anime section, which is fantastic and brutal. You've got the fight with Lucy Liu, which is incredible. But really, that last final fight sequence with the Crazy 88 is just so good. Now, I think I'm going to get a bit of hate for my ranking. I appreciate that. This is personal to me. These are just on rewatch. What did I find most entertaining? What did I find that kept me intrigued the whole way through? And this is where I've got my ranking from. So, do you think Jackie Brown was too low? Do you think Reservoir Dogs was too low? Do you think that Kill Bill should have been counted as 1? Do you think I was harsh on Kill Bill Volume 2? Let me know your ranking in the comments. Let me know what you thought I got right and what you thought I got wrong. I'm James from Red Kit Reviews, and I'll see you in the next one.